What's up, y'all? Sparta here. So for this video, I want to do a detailed review about the V60 a few months later. Now, I don't really remember when I got this phone. So I think it's been 5 months since I've had it. It was like a couple weeks after the launch of the phone. So it's basically since launch I've had the phone. So the V60, a phone that's like that has a very weird relationship with reviews, right? Where they blasted it when the phone first came out because it doesn't have a quad HD 120 hertz display. Oh, it only has 2 camera on the back. Oh, what you mean crop zoom? That's gonna totally be inferior to a separate telephoto lens, even though Apple and Samsung both crop zoom under low light, and even in certain well lit situations they do. I've seen it happen right before my eyes some days, but whatever, right? What you mean there's 2 sensors on the back and the Z camera? And what you mean is the 1080p 60 hertz and all that stupid crap, right? But they overlook the massive battery and the amazing battery life on this phone. They overlook the fact that the screen is still really good. It's amazing. It's not even like a bad display. Just because it doesn't have that eye candy does not mean that it's bad at all. And I'm not really going to I'll just take the case off. But I didn't really want to because this is kind of an involved case. But, the phone is beautiful. And it's another thing where people have said, oh, it looks outdated. It looks like a Samsung Galaxy S10. You mean it looks like a V40 and V50? Because Samsung aped that design from LG. They're the ones that took the triple camera from LG. LG technically did it first. And people just keep forgetting that because, LG's a smaller player. Even though technically they're the number 4 player, but they're not the number 4 because of their flagships. They're number 4 because of their lower and mid-range phones, right? So this phone, in terms of design, reminds me of if the Note 5 and the V20 had a baby. And now you can see me in the camera. It's a very nice, very clean phone, right? Got the little Corona beard going on right here. But it's a thick phone. It feels substantial in your hand. It has heft to it. This display is big and it's bright and it just looks really nice. I really don't have any problem with it. The only thing I wish that LG just kept, right? I really wish, I keep missing the clear all button. But I really wish they just kept the rear mounted fingerprint sensor because I just prefer it. Not that the in-display is bad. Like, there are days when it's on par with my 6T, but there are days when it's not. And the 6T is still probably that one is like very close to the Note 10s, and the Note 10s is quite fast. Why this remains, and it's probably just going to be my phone of the year. I do plan on getting other phones. Like, I do plan on getting the Note 20 Ultra, and I plan on maybe getting the Sony Xperia 5 Mark II. But the main reason why those probably won't excite me and won't make me want to leave the V60 is because of stuff like the battery life. Because of stuff like the headphone jack with the quad DAC. Because of the speakers. Because it just feels like a phone made for me. Right? The Note 20 Ultra does not seem like a phone that was made for me. It feels like it looks like a S20 Ultra with an S Pen. And to me, that's not a value proposition because Samsung is no longer bolstering their Note line as their top of the line. This is what we put everything into, like the best of the best of what we have to offer. That's more the S20, the S Ultra now. And to me, that sucks because the Note used to represent something that was really nice. Not just, oh, it has a stylus, so that's the sole reason why I like the phone. No, it's not. Like, the S Pen is cute. Don't get me wrong. I do use it. But it's not the reason why I loved my Note 5. Why I loved my Note 8. It's not the reason. I loved those because they did something that the S series just didn't do. And they tended to run smoother than the S series. I've always had issues with S series phones running like crap after like a month or two. So, yeah. But 5-6 months in, this phone still runs very smoothly. There's stuff like, and I went to Target, right? Well, I work at Target, but I went to a Target I don't work at, and I messed with the Note 20 Ultra, and I went into the camera app because I wanted to see. They talk all this stuff about 120 hertz, but I went into the camera app and I checked if the viewfinder was smooth because the V60's viewfinder is smooth. This feels really nice. It feels almost gimbal-like. It runs at a smooth 60 frames per second, and it looks really good. And the Note 20 Ultra didn't do that. The S20 Ultra didn't do that. It just felt very choppy because it was not choppy, but not as smooth because it was still running at 30 frames per second. Now, obviously, if you go into 4K 60 mode or 1080p 60 video mode, it's going to do that. But I'm just talking about for the base photo mode of the camera. And you don't realize how much that makes a difference. I haven't had a single hitch on this phone. The iPhone 11 Pro Max I have has had more hitches than this phone has. And LG has been notorious for their heavy skins. This is still a heavy skin on this phone. It's very One UI-esque, but it's like a One UI that actually runs well. Like it's crazy, dude. Because, and you can't say, oh, you don't know. I had a G8 and a Note 10 side by side. The G8 ran circles around my Note 10. Quit with this because it's Samsung, it's better crap. Because it's not true. Just like because it's an iPhone, it's better crap. Because it's a Pixel, it's better crap. Because it's a OnePlus, it's better crap. And sorry, OnePlus 6T. I don't mean to talk about you like that. It's not you, it's your company. But, there's just certain things about this phone that just keep. Now, I'm not going to talk about stuff like the front-facing camera because I just don't care. I don't use it. And that's just something that people are going to have to come to grips with. I don't use front-facing cameras. That's why I never talk about them. I talk about the rear camera because they're the good cameras. And if you want to learn, you take rear-mounted selfies. And this is a very reflective back, so you could do that really well. And you could do the portrait mode. And the portrait mode on here is actually really good. Has a decent amount of effects, and they look nice. And it tends to be the most consistent that I've ever messed with compared to, say, something like the 11 Pro Max, which sometimes it's a little bit inconsistent and it doesn't look nearly as good. And that's just something that's very emblematic. In terms of the cameras on here are really good. Comparing it to the 11 Pro Max, there's stuff like red flowers, for example. LG has always had a problem with red flowers being a little bit too bright and not having any detail, and that's still a problem here. But going to the manual mode, turn the ISO and shutter speed down, you'll get that. Or better yet, stay in the auto mode and turn down the exposure, and you can get that as well, no problem. And there's stuff about this phone that I don't understand how reviewers just say, oh, it's just a bad phone. I don't want to go into manual video mode. But this camera app is just very streamlined. The night view, the night shot, to me, beats what the iPhone does, because the iPhone just wants to sit there and make it look like a late evening photo in pitch black situations or just night situations, whereas the V60 just makes it look the way it is, and you could see stars better on it, and it just looks nice. Now there's obviously going to be fringing on like the moon or something like that, and I'll just bring a photo of that up. Let me find it. I take a lot of pictures. Like, as you guys can see right here, or right here, it looks worse while it's showing you guys on the phone. But this looks like a photo taken off of a camera, right? Whereas the iPhone tends to make it look a bit artificial. People are like, oh, yeah, natural. And the iPhone didn't really do better. Let me find them real quick. Let me find the photos real quick. I know the iCloud storage is full. I know. Jesus Christ. Like, as you guys can see right here, right? There's way more noise. There's more noise. And it just doesn't look that great at all. And it's just not as good as the V60s does it. And to me, that's very nice. Now let's talk about headphone performance. I know there are a lot of audiophiles that tend to come to my channel and say, oh, why are you just using the phone? And I was like, and I get it. It's hard to just sit here and say, to listen to somebody saying that a V60 can compete with a standalone DAP, but it can. And the quad DAC is really good. Now, there are quirks with it, obviously, and due to it being a phone, they just aren't going to add those certain kind of audiophile features, like, say, a high gain or high impedance mode, or being able to use the phone as a external DAC for your laptop or something like that. Those aren't things that they're probably not. Those are things that they're probably not going to put into the phone. But for me, I feel that doesn't really matter, because the overall output of the phone, the V20 and the V40 for my dad powered his very hungry speaker setup in his car, right? He couldn't do that with a Galaxy. He couldn't do that with a G4. He couldn't do that with a freaking iPhone with a dongle that isn't meant to push more powerful stuff, right? He couldn't do that. He was able to do that on the V20 and the V40. And the V60 is no different. Now, the main differences between the quad DAC on here and the quad DAC on, say, the V50 or the G8 is that there's better audio crosstalk, so better left and right separation and stuff like that. To me, that's very nice, and I actually value that quite a bit. It sounds really good, and I really don't have an issue with how it sounds. Where compared to, like, say, AirPods Pro, which people say, who really needs cords if you have AirPods Pro? Here's the thing, right? The AirPods Pro are nice. I'm not trying to say that they're not. But I was able to actually tell when it was switching from left to right. Or say, even on my LG Tone Frees, right, the true wireless ones, I wasn't able to delineate when a sound was panning from left to right, when it started panning to the other side. And when you connect, say, short tapes, when you connect 10 P1s, when you connect, nowhere over there, Sennheiser HD 650s, you get this certain, and I've talked about the 10P1s quite a bit in the past, right? And obviously, due to the fact that planars tend to be more, sensitive and all that audio file jargon, you do have to do a little bit of one workaround basically, and I would honestly just carry an adapter. Do this, plug it in, play some music, plug in the headphones, and you'll get the proper output. Rather than removing the IM from the cord itself and then replugging it in, because that'll mess with the durability of the MMCX connector. And you don't want that. You don't want that. This phone is still very good when it comes to audio. The speakers on here are fantastic. Even without me going into the equalizer and pumping up and tuning up every single audio band to get me even more volume and cutting on LG 3D surround while I watch YouTube videos. Even without doing that, these speakers sound great. They don't sound tinny like, say, the G8. They don't sound too bassy like the iPhone 11 Pro Max. They sound right. They sound just right enough for me. And to me, that's important. To me, that's crucial. Buttons are still very clicky and nice. I don't really have any problems with, say, how the buttons feel. They're not mushy. I never use the Google Assistant button, and it's very nice and tactile, and it feels nice. I don't really have any issues with that. The battery life on here is still fantastic. As I've pointed out multiple times, I could get 12 hours of screen on time consistently, whereas on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, it depends. Like, sometimes I can get 8, sometimes I can get 6.5, and that's because of the battery, crap that they did with this newest update that they're going to fix. But yeah, it's been fairly inconsistent on the iPhone, where I haven't updated on here yet because I can't. I need an AT&T SIM card to do it. But yeah, the battery life has been fantastic. I get 9 hours and 21 minutes of playback on 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross, and if you just look up that game and look, it's not like some basic looking game. It's a full 3D animated game with very good animations, very demanding stuff, right? And it just looks really nice. King of Fighters All-Star, 6 hours and like 20 or 30 minutes. And you get 4 hours if you use the dual screen case and do something else. Marvel Contest of Champions, I could probably play that. That game is pretty battery efficient. It's kind of weird, but it's pretty battery efficient. And I've never actually played it for more than maybe 2 or 3 hours. But from those 2 or 3 hours, I still had maybe like 80-70% left. And to me, that's really nice. I do want to test games like, say, Lords of the Fallen, because Lords of the Fallen is a game that I tested on the V20, and I think I got 6 hours of straight playback even back then on the V20, which was kind of crazy. I was like, whoa. And yeah, the 5,000 milliamp hour battery in here is really nice. They tuned the battery really well with the software, and it's just really good. I really don't have any issues with the battery life. I haven't yet. 5G affects it a little bit, but not to the point where I would say it's a deal breaker. And 5G on this phone is blazing fast. Here in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I go to Minneapolis and I go to Chaska, I don't have any sort of issues when it comes to 5G connectivity. And Google Fi, it connects to T-Mobile. It used to be T-Mobile and Sprint, but since Sprint and T-Mobile merged, I'm just going to say T-Mobile. And I have no problem. I get like 500 megabits, 600 megabits down. I forget how many I get up, and sorry, human crap going on with my body here, but yeah, this phone is really good when it comes to battery and power. And that's a selling point of this phone. That's a selling point for a lot of people, right? How good is the battery? It outclasses the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and this is a brand new 11. This is a new 11 Pro Max. It's not brand new because I've had it for a couple weeks, but yeah, it's a new 11 Pro Max, and the V60 outclasses it. And you say, "Oh, but the V60 has a newer processor," and it's like, but the A13 is still Apple's top of the line right now. Until the new iPhones come out with the A14, right? So it doesn't matter. It really don't matter. And always on display really doesn't affect anything. Charging speeds, I get like an hour and 45 minutes that I need to charge from say 5% to 100. To me that's ample and good for how much battery life this phone gives you. Like, I'm not expecting, full charge in an hour. Plus, it has optimized charging, so it doesn't degrade the battery as fast. That's something that the G8 had that's really nice, and I really do appreciate that feature. But yeah, this phone is still great, man. I really don't have any issues with it. Call quality is really nice. The speaker up here, the speaker grill up top is really nice and clear. I don't really have any issues with it. Bluetooth connectivity, I don't have any issues with at all. LG has always kind of been one of the manufacturers that has done right by Bluetooth while also keeping a very good headphone jack, right? Like, the G4 was one of the first phones with aptX. The G5 was the first phone with aptX HD. Like, they've been on the ball when it comes to giving you the best Bluetooth codecs, and the V60 is no exception. It has every Bluetooth codec. They all sound great. Sadly, every I don't know why I keep saying every phone. Every headset doesn't support every single codec. They tend to support AAC and SBC, and they don't support LDAC. They don't support aptX or aptX HD because you need a separate chip for that. Same with LDAC. There's a lot of different things that go into this. It's a little more intricate, and to me a little more detailed than just, it doesn't support it, that means it's inferior. Like, no, there's other stuff that you have to take into account. But overall, the V60 is my phone of the year, man. Optional dual screen phone, a powerhouse. It gets me through my everyday life, no problem. Like, I don't know what else you could want from a phone other than the eye candy stuff. And to me, that stuff doesn't matter if the phone has a very good display despite it being just 1080p. You guys don't seem to care that you have to put your phone at 1080p on a Samsung phone and able to even use 120 hertz. Like, but whatever. I'm not going to get into that. I'll talk about that when I get the Note 20 Ultra. But this is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for the support. If you have a V60, let me know in the comment section down below. If you're a V20 user and you're going to a V60, or if you have gone to a V60 because of my video on the V20 wielders, it's time. And the little intervention video that I made, then this is going to be how this phone has held up over time, and it's held up really well. Still has mil standard A10G. I've had very minor scuffs, like there's one right here, and you can't really see it, but there's one. That's the proximity sensor, but the nick is very close to it. It's like the smallest crack, and you can't even see it. I forget it's there. It's like right up here somewhere. I don't even know where it's at. And it dropped in a bumper case. But yeah, I don't want to make this any longer. This is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for the support. Hope you guys have a wonderful Monday, or whatever time it is in the area. Like the video if you like it, dislike it. If you dislike it, share with people that are interested in sort of content. Have a good one. Again, like I just said, thanks for 859 to 861 subscribers. It keeps fluctuating. That's YouTube for you. But yeah, have a good one.